Portland is on fire, TI wants 13% of your paycheck, and 2020 finally killed America's favorite pastime on today's Mystery Men podcast. So, Portland has been an absolute trash heap of nerdy white kids for about 2 months. Let's review some of the events today that kind of brought us to this point. So, as most people know by now, if you haven't seen the black squares in your social media feed, George Floyd died at the hands of a police officer in Minneapolis. And so that sparked several protests and then eventual riots across the country in different major Democrat-run cities. Portland specifically, there was on May 30th, after several riots and looting had occurred, Mayor Ted Wheeler declared a state of emergency and announced a citywide 8 p.m. curfew. So, at that point, it sounds like they definitely recognized that there was a riot and, they needed to kind of suppress that. And by June 1st, Ted Wheeler, the mayor, and their federal prosecutor asked the governor, Kate Brown, to bring in the National Guard. And so his exact statement on that was, "We need help. We need more bodies to stop this senseless violence." And basically, the governor declined to send in the Guard. So on June 9th, there was a district judge, Marco Hernandez, who issued a temporary restraining order against the city of Portland, prohibiting the use of tear gas unless lives are at risk, because they had been using tear gas to disperse crowds, I think. And so the nerdy white kids couldn't take it anymore, and so I think they complained and filed a lawsuit about it.
Oh, I can't breathe.
June 17th, you guys will love this. The Portland City Council approves $27 million, cutting $27 million out of the Portland police budget. And so that's including $15 million from 4 controversial tactical units. And originally, the activists sought $50 million of a cut from the police department budget. So that kind of brings me to their list of demands. The first one is like we just mentioned, defund the Portland police by at least 50% and, quote, reinvest into communities, especially the black community.
Yay! We know where you're going.
And then the second point was free all protesters from jail.
No.
The third demand was get federal law enforcement officers out of Portland.
I don't know if they really understand how the United States works.
They don't.
But you just... Anyway.
And their last point was force Wheeler to resign.
Yeah, I can agree with that.
I think everybody can agree on that one point. So those were their list of demands. And then, so then it goes on. June 26th, black leaders gather at the boarded up precinct after they had been looting and destroying it. And then decrying the destruction of black-owned businesses and terrorism by white protesters who they say are hurting the Black Lives Matter movement. Now, I don't know if any of you guys have noticed, but anytime I've watched any footage of rioting or protesting, it's mostly white people, and there may be like a dot or two of brown or black in the middle of it.
Like 1 or 2 white guys, and then there's a whole bunch of white women, I've noticed.
Yeah.
That are the ones that are instigating everything, and they're just kind of like yelling, and then yeah. But I agree with you. It seems to be majority of white people are involved in the escalations.
Yeah, because Black Lives Matter.
Young adult white women and their pyramid schemes aren't working out. So.
Taking a break from
selling Tupperware.
Selling
unique.
So they don't have to They're not selling any houses right now.
Pyramid scheme is not working for a riot.
My candles, my essential oils.
That's what they're doing in the middle of it. I know it will heal. I know it will make you feel better from all the tear gas in your eyes. Some lavender oil.
Oh, don't worry. They definitely showed up in force later on in this timeline with the moms.
Oh,
But we'll
yeah.
get to that. So July 1st. That's a pretty big point.
Man, you're just in July? What the
Yeah,
heck?
I mean, this has gone on.
7 days.
So, federal police are deployed as a part of a new monument task force assigned to protect the Mark O. Hatfield Federal Courthouse and other federal property downtown. They engage with protesters, make arrests, they deploy tear gas, and they conduct operations blocks away from the federal building. At least
Did you guys
that.
see some of the video of that? That's pretty. I mean, look, as much as I don't like these protesters doing what they're doing, the way they're doing it, I still think some of the tactics they were taking are a little shady. I mean, like, literally they're running around in a mom van, and they just come out like, over here. Some of the video is pretty funny.
So this next event happened on July 9th. And keep in mind, this was like from a Portland, probably like a Portland newspaper or source that I'm getting all these events from. And in between each of these dates that I'm saying, there were several other things that were going on as far as like people rioting and looting and, just causing chaos. So, on July 9th, in a police briefing, Portland officer Jakari Jackson describes racist insults, violence, and abuse. What'd you say? Abuse that he's been subjected to by protesters outside of the Justice Center. And so he calls on several community leaders to lead a march with officers to the protest and things like that, just to keep things peaceful. So he's just kind of crying out for people to keep things more peaceful. But then he also brings up a point that we highlighted a second ago, and I'm going to share that video with you guys real quick.
It says something when you're at a Black Lives Matter protest. You have more minorities on the police side than you have in a violent crowd. And you have white people screaming at black officers. You have the biggest nose I've ever seen.
Oh my god.
I got to do a close up of the nose.
Yeah.
I got to see
Messed up, man.
folks that really do want change, like the rest of us, that have been impacted by racism. And then I got to see those people get faded out by people that have no idea what racism is all about, never experienced racism, that don't even know that the tactics that they are using are the same tactics that were used against my people. And they don't even know they don't even know the history. They don't know what they're saying. Coming from someone who graduated from PSU with a history degree, it's actually frightening. They say if you don't know your history, you repeat it, and watching people do that to other people. A lot of times, someone of color, black, Hispanic, Asian, come up to the fence and directly want to talk to me. Hey, what do you think about George Floyd? What do you think about what happened about this? I go up to the fence, someone white comes up, F the police, don't talk to him. That was the most bizarre thing because I could see it coming. I even had a young African-American girl tell me, why is it you guys aren't talking to us? I said, honestly, this is now the 23rd day of doing it. Every time I try to have a conversation with someone that looks like me, someone white comes up and blocks them and tells them not to talk. And then right when I said that, this white girl popped right in front of her. She said, he just said that was going to happen. I said, straight up. I said, I've been called the N-word. She's been called the N-word. Why are you talking to me this way? Why do you feel that she can't speak for herself to me? Why is it that you feel you need to speak for her when we're having a conversation? But then when you go to a gentrified community, and one of the first pictures I saw that one of the business that was looted was a black-owned business. I'm like, they're not even from here. They don't even know what they're even doing.
That's part of the thing that really gets me is a lot of these protesters are people who are almost carrying out racist ideology or just thinking the way they put down, people, or they're trying to fight for black people, but it doesn't seem to be coming across the way I think.
Well, I mean, like they're literally using, like this guy's example, they're literally using racist terminology against a police officer, and they're probably justifying it as, oh, well, he's a police officer, so he's inhuman, or
right.
But isn't that the same thing they're saying everybody else is doing to black people, and that's what they're fighting for? It makes no sense.
Right.
Like, I'm telling you, up is down, black is white. Everything is crazy in their world. You cannot fix that. And I think it's all a fake. I think it's all underhanded. It's not real. It's just an excuse to be out there throwing things.
About the protest demands, right? Like usually you start a protest with demands, right? And one of the demands is you have to free all protesters, right?
Yeah.
So it's like, well, what if we meet the demands? It's like, well, there's gonna be protesters that get arrested. So it's like, so you're gonna protest either way is basically what you're saying. Like, it's like, even if all the other demands were met, it's like already you're kind of asking to be freed of arrest from the beginning.
That's why, I just think that, this whole quote unquote movement has been, it's been hijacked, from people with Marxist ideology, or, just Antifa in general. Like, it's not about Black Lives Matter anymore. If it was, at the beginning, it's definitely not now. Because, those demands are like within the construct of their own protest. It's not except for the defunding of the police.
The police, yeah.
All the other demands just seem to be like, well, free the people that got arrested. That just doesn't, like, after that happens, like you said, what else can you do next? It's like, okay, well, I guess our demands have been met.
It's like basically the demands are to allow us to protest.
Essentially. And, and just to cause destruction and harm. It's just, that's why, like, a lot of people have brought up Black Lives Matter. If you go to their website even and just see, like, what their manifesto is, like, what they want to see happen, like, things like degrading the typical nuclear family, and, a lot of, socialist and Marxist type things. And it gets me so upset whenever I see people just blindly supporting it and blindly not even asking questions, or just associating themselves with a movement like that, and not really even doing the least bit of like research to figure out what that movement is actually about. And so it's pretty crazy to me. So basically, on July 17th, Wheeler holds a press conference to call on the federal police to leave town. So I think at this point, he's already like, oh, well, now they don't like me, so I need to, like, kind of get in their good graces and, show that I need to, support whatever they're supporting so that they don't kick me out of office. Because, demand number 4 is kick him out of office.
Do we say, leave your position? Okay.
He's like, okay, I'll kick myself
What
out of
I
office.
don't get is these morons who keep going down there, and like every time a mayor goes down there, I'm going to show my solidarity. We're like, boo! And they're like, kick him out.
Yeah.
What? But I came to help you. No.
It's like your boss firing you, and he's like, hey, can you get those reports for me on my desk before you leave?
Help me out, man, and then we're gonna fire your butt.
So during that event, there was definitely more projectiles thrown at police, and the federal officers had to disperse the crowd with tear gas and just the typical riot munitions. I don't know what, like, if you're going down to these protests, which I'm just like, what's going to happen. Like, it's your own fault for getting hit in the head with a tear gas canister at this point. So then July 20th, basically it comes in the wall of moms. And when you see this wall of moms, they're pretty much a giant wall.
Because they're large women?
That's exactly what I'm getting. Like, so they form a giant,
Wall.
blubberous wall in front of the federal courthouse to protest Trump and the federal police, the secret police.
Man, for 4 years, golly, protesting Trump is like so old. He's not going anywhere just because you protest him. He's not going to change his ways.
Yeah, like it's pretty crazy because I think I remember reading shortly after the Wall of Moms appeared, that they were calling on other, dads, the Wall of Dads to come, and I don't think any Wall of Dads came though.
I thought they're trying to abolish the nuclear.
Yeah, what do they need them guys?
Yeah.
What do they need these men?
These men, yeah, you don't need men.
Patriarchy.
Patriots.
The patriarchy for bringing the dad's wall.
So, did any of you guys see the videos of Ted Wheeler trying to go down?
Yeah.
And that happened to somebody else, another mayor. I think
Yeah.
it was, oh man, what was the name of the other mayor? There was another one. He went down there.
I know what you're talking about.
It happened.
Yeah.
But this is the second time.
Yeah.
And then they go and they vandalize these mayors' houses and stuff
Yeah.
like that too. Like, I wouldn't go down there unless you had an armed police escort, which they've defunded.
Yeah. Well, like, he shows up and he has like a whole, security detail around him and everything. And then like people start, he's like, basically a part of the riot at that point, because then tear gas is, shot out at them and he's like coughing and stuff. And basically at a certain point, the protesters start calling him Ted Gas Ted. Or tear gas Ted, and shouting that at him, and saying "F Ted Wheeler," and basically, so he's getting run out of there essentially. But then,
you know what?
Yeah,
And even then, he still is like, he didn't care. He was still like posting tweets. I'm telling you, I promise you, this is the solution. Turn off the cell phone signals within a 2 square mile radius of
that's
these
a great
protests.
idea.
They will all go home.
Yeah.
They will all leave. What? I can't post to Twitter anymore. Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah, they won't be able to see me as a hero.
I can't have my Uber Eats come meet me at the protest.
I hope those Uber Eats get paid extra, man. Driving into the protest.
I would totally decline that job.
They're driving in like these modified like Tesla trucks. Protest.
So Ted Wheeler's statement about the feds is, at that time it's an unconstitutional occupation. The tactics that have been used by our federal officers are abhorrent. They did not act with probable cause. People are not being told who they are being arrested by, and you're being denied basic constitutional rights. Well,
was he saying all this, like with his like tear gas?
Yeah, with his with his tearing eyes and everything.
Goggles are the best. He was like wearing chemistry goggles from like 9th grade and full goggles, and he's like, "I'm being gassed by the police."
So, I mean, like, I think at that point, I remember seeing a video of, a water bottle getting thrown, like, in his direction and, him barely dodging it and stuff. So, eventually, like, his security team, like, basically starts pulling him into another building, and he makes his great escape. But, it just goes to show you, like, even despite them, like, literally yelling in his face right in front of him as he's trying to escape, he's still holding on to this, toe the line of, there's an occupation of secret police, unmarked police and unmarked cars, coming to take people, and he's trying to promote that thinking of, how things are actually going down there. But
hey, here's my prediction:
Mm-hmm.
November 6th or 7th, this is all gonna just slowly fade away.
Yeah,
I know. Coronavirus will be cured.
Coronavirus will be cured. Yeah. All protests will be like, I guess we're done now. They're gonna drop their water bottle.
Black lives will be forgotten until 4 years later.
Well, he's trying to his best to deflect. I think the tactic I see a lot of Democrat mayors or whatever leaders use is try to focus the attention on whatever maybe the Republican or Trump is doing. And sometimes it works for the crowd, but I think that people are just getting more angry and they're like refusing like to even listen to those tactics. Like they're just like there's just like so much violence. There's like not really like a focus in these groups, and so it's just like complete submission is what they want, even if they're hearing people are in the mayor like Ted Wheeler is trying to say what he thinks they'll like. He's still gonna get pushed out if they're not gonna compromise on anything.
Because they want a total destruction of the government as it is, and Ted Wheeler is a part of that. So they don't care about, even if he were to tote their line, he's not. They don't care about that. They want to just destroy that, and they want their communist country as they see fit.
And these Democratic leaders' thirst for power is on display.
Yeah,
they are willing to have so many people's lives damaged and destroyed so that they could maintain their power. I mean, that's really, frankly, that's coming down to. It's really, that's all they care about. They literally are allowing this, and it's such a dumb goal too. It's like a dumb goal because you're literally catering to people, like a small minority of people. I don't think they really use that, but they're using them to towards their ends, and I think their ends are just purely to destabilize the country because they think.
Or it's like to be a leader of like a trash heap, basically. Like what's left after it's all done.
I don't care as long as they're the leader.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then it's so funny how whenever it starts affecting them, that's whenever they oh no, they're coming to my house and they're putting graffiti on my house and stuff. Oh, now I need to take action.
Order.
Yeah,
we need law and order now.
Wait a minute, isn't that what Trump says? You can't say something that Trump says.
Oh, sorry. Bad.
Well, that's what happened in Chaz, right? Whenever it went to the mayor's neighborhood, then he shut it down.
Yeah, you hear the record scratch. Yeah, it's getting out of hand, guys. Yeah, we gotta stop.
So, I guess this week, Trump started up Operation Legend and to, kind of disperse federal troops or federal officers to different cities across that have been having these riots. So, including, I guess, Seattle is a part of that, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I think I heard that there was starting to be some riots starting up again in Seattle, and what I'm really hoping for is that new Chaz appears, and that they emerge out of this, because I couldn't get enough of Chaz. I mean, all the memes and the pictures and video coming out of that, it was gold. But speaking of people who deserve to get things thrown at them, T.I., the rapper, wants $44 trillion in slavery reparations. So his quote in this interview, I think he did with, I think that's the Breakfast Club that always gets these awesome interviews with crazy people. This is my goal, he said. My goal is to get every black person in America that's a descendant of slavery $1 million at least. That take about $44 trillion. So that's my goal. So I'm working up on $44 trillion. So let me play.
Isn't that more money than the whole world?
So last year, our deficit was $25 trillion. So I don't know where he's planning on getting this $44 trillion.
Print it, baby.
Let me play another excerpt from that video.
We have to create opportunities for ourselves and our people. We have to.
Can we just pause right here just for a second?
Talk about his outfit.
Is he in a bowling alley? What is he talking about?
Yeah, that I don't know. And at one point during the interview, some random person comes and sits down in this chair on this side, and in the background.
Podcast.
Oh, expect to. Oh, what?
Oh, word.
I hate having to say that word.
I am not going to say that word out of defiance.
Teaciously.
Why can't you just put the camera at least closer to his face?
Yeah, that was another thing. Like it
Why
could
is he
barely.
dressed like Paddington Bear? Working out with Paddington Bear.
Entrepreneurs today than ever before, but unfortunately, it's just not enough. You know what I'm saying? We have to develop everything Black people spend money on. It should be a Black company that provides. Okay,
What?
if we have, if we
Hold on, he's breaking out
13%.
his cell phone at this point to like
It's
you know.
TI-81.
He only buys TI products.
of this nation's population, we should make up for 13% of the ownership of land, 13% of we should be represented at least 13-14% in on boards of financial institutions and so on and so forth. That should be persistent or consistent throughout, but it is not. And so opportunities is a big thing, and exposure. Okay, the reason why Black kids are mostly, we gravitate toward hip hop, we gravitate toward basketball.
Listen
football,
to this next piece, his
baseball,
next
we
suggestion.
gravitate towards entertainment because those are the things that we have been exposed to.
Yeah, that's what we see ourselves in. We see
Right.
When you're looking for Black faces, brown faces. That's what we at.
Right. If we walked outside and seen a whole bunch of people coding on computers on our corners, then our kids would say, you know what, I think I want to be a coder. I want to develop technology when I grow up.
So
let's just the fact that the stereotype is that it's mostly a brown face doing technology. So they have already canceled that, and then I think he's high when he's on this. It seems like he's like
on the corners.
programmers on the corners. Go ahead.
It goes into like he's like pontificating, but it looks like he's trying to think of his idea, develop it as he's talking. And that the whole concept that which we could spend like a podcast on of, well, if I see someone like me in this role, then that's going to motivate me to take that role. Doesn't make sense to me. Like with the majority of a lot of South Asians taking a big portion of medical care field, they didn't see anybody in that before they got into that role. They got into that role because their family, their parents probably are pushing them into that role. It wasn't anything, but I think that there's still, it goes back down to, I think that a lot of the leftist view is external. Like, well, I have to see that. That's how I, it's an external thing. If I don't see someone doing the role that we want people to be in, then that's why they're not doing it, because they need to see someone in that role in order for them to be motivated. But I just don't get it. Doesn't make sense to me, because if that's the case, then you would see more colored people from the Black community in the roles that TI is saying, because there are colored people in there right now. I mean, that generates the stereotype of coders being Indian or Asian because there's so many of them in that field.
Honestly, it just sounds like a complete mind dump of TI's, this whole speech that he gave, because he was talking about how Black people need to buy from Black owned businesses, and then Black people make up 13%, so we should be 13% of every board. I don't know, it just didn't, it wasn't cohesive. I mean, what do you expect? Yeah. It's TI. So I wasn't expecting much.
I think the term goal is being kind of used loosely. It feels like he kind of created this on the spot.
Yeah.
It feels like this has been my goal.
You should check out his podcast. He once had Alex Jones on there.
No way.
And everybody in the comment section was even just say T.I., you're retarded. This is the stupidest interview. Because and it's just crazy, because you're making Alex Jones look like the smart one in this interview. But, I don't know. It's worth checking out.
Yeah, I definitely will. I never even knew T.I. had his own podcast, and there's
a couple interviews where people are just roasting him because he's just a bad interviewer and a bad
yeah. Last song that he's done that's been good.
I don't even know. No, I don't even know. But either way, in addition to not wanting to fund reparations, I also don't want to fund any more national sports for the foreseeable future. So we had this story that came out this week about the Washington Redskins announcing a temporary name change until they can figure out what they want to name themselves. So I'm sure you guys have heard the name that is the temporary name anyway, which is just Washington Football Team.
Straight to the point. I like it. No confusion.
So do you guys think that their name change is going to solve all racism at this point?
I mean, you can't blame it for being racist.
Yeah.
It's a very vanilla name.
Yeah, that's true.
I can't take credit
it could be
for
chocolate
this.
too. Just FYI, just any name, whatever.
I can't take credit for this, but somebody else said this. Like, isn't George Washington a name that they were trying to cancel already?
Yeah.
So shouldn't they change the whole city?
There's an article about that from the Washington Post.
Oh man, I mean, this is again just yet another ridiculous thing. I don't even know if this was like a major complaint other than from the far left people, but the NFL has had its own issues, especially the last couple of weeks. I think we've heard them announce the Black national anthem that will be sung at some of the first games and stuff. I didn't even know there was a Black national anthem.
I
but
didn't know that either.
Can we make an Indian American national anthem?
Yeah. It's just the Indian national anthem.
Change a few words or change the tune.
Yeah, that's going to be sung first. So I don't know if anybody's going to watch the games anymore, but it's definitely turned off a lot of people.
What do you think they're going to pick?
I honestly think someone could be create a brand if they kneeled for that.
What do you mean?
Kneeled for the Black national anthem?
White guy kneels for
Yeah,
Black.
That's
Many but
true.
love by many at the same time.
Oh man, they would instantly get canceled at that exact moment that their knee touches the ground.
Disappear.
They would just disappear.
Dissolve like the Thanos' snap. Brutality 2 police. You got to switch it up.
Yeah. It's got to be opposite.
Statistically, right? More white people get killed by the police, unarmed white people, than black people. So you can just take a knee for that.
For white people.
Take the knee for white people.
And then there's a whiteout campaign on social media.
I cannot breathe.
I can breathe.
I can't.
Whiteout Wednesday.
Whiteout Wednesday.
Just a white square.
Feel our
It just kinda
podcast
blends
being
in with the
canceled
rest
right
of
now.
the
It's coming off of iTunes.
it's as soon as I upload it, it just
Just deloads.
it deloads. It comes back.
Because that reminds me of a story I heard recently, I think it was past week, of this lawyer girl. She saw that they put the Black Lives Matter paint on their street.
Mm-hmm.
So then she's like, all right, so this is an open forum then. So then she went to her
city councilor or whoever. Oh right.
She wanted to put a MAGA
yeah.
Oh, I heard about
sign
that.
or painting or paint on the street. And so they said, oh, well, we're taking down the Black Lives Matter paint because it's a traffic hazard or something. So eliminated all of it.
Yeah, they
because
canceled
they
that real quick.
just didn't want to put the risk of putting MAGA up there. So well, that's what,
Good for them. Good for that
yeah.
lady.
That was a smart way, because I'm sure maybe a lot of you guys saw that, which a lot of people gave her praise for it, but that black woman who was dropping black paint all over the Black Lives Matter
Yeah.
thing in, what was it, Washington or New York?
Yeah, I think New York, right?
Yeah, New York, and she was saying a lot of correct stuff in her like rant and like
Yeah.
like that, and like people kind of praise her for that. But like, you know, you could kind of argue like, was that like the smartest way of going about it, or does that, you know, does that? I mean, there's obviously going to be people out there that might think she's like crazy or whatever, but this way, it's like it kind of permanently resolved that issue.
Mm-hmm.
With the lawyer, she's like from some other country, I think too.
No, it definitely opened the door for a lot of nonsense. I mean, like, meaning like, you know, they're posting of a political message, right? They want separation from church and state. I mean, like, you can't just outwardly endorse one political party in a country. It's ripe for lawsuits.
Right,
Yeah.
right. You know, going back to the Washington Redskins, though, yeah, I was just reminded of this guy I follow named Zuby. Have you guys heard of him?
I heard the name.
He's a rapper. He's from the UK, but he, I think maybe a couple of years ago, he blew up because he decided. Yeah. So he basically called himself a female and then set the deadlift record for females in the UK. and so then after that he blew up. But like I follow him on Twitter, and like he was saying, you know, the Washington Redskins should keep their name but change the logo to a potato. So yeah, I think I thought that was a pretty creative way of just changing it up. They didn't even have to change the name; they just said to change the logo. But you know, what I know.
Well, the thing is, like the grandson of the artist who made the Redskins logo finds it offensive that they're taking it or they're changing
Oh.
the name and rest. Like he thought it was it was an honor that they had illustrated that logo and his
Was
grandpa.
he a white guy or
No, he's a Native American.
Yeah.
Wow.
So,
And now they're canceling Native Americans? Wow, this is
Man.
this has gotten really bad.
Make Native Americans great again. That's gonna be the next slogan.
Oklahoma's following suit.
Oh man, yeah, that was a whole topic I should have like added to the list, but you know,
Yeah.
Oklahoma essentially is owned by half of it, anyways. Seems to be Native American territory again. Man, 2020, dude, like such weird stuff has gone on. It's amazing.
Let's see how that state runs now. That half of the
I guess crimes that happen within that territory, I guess, fall under federal jurisdiction now. If so, you could get prosecuted by the federal government. But the guy that originated this lawsuit to, you know, claiming that he shouldn't be convicted of the crime because it was on Native American territory and they didn't properly turn it over to the United States. I think he basically got convicted, or he was on trial for maybe messing with a little kid or something. And I'm just trying to put that as lightly as possible so we don't instantly get banned on any platform. But you know, it was like a 4-year-old little girl. Anyway, so back to sports, which I know all of us keep up with. I know.
Oh God! Like literally the NFL, NBA.
Yeah.
You know, the baseball association. I'm done. I'm done with all of it.
Yeah. I mean, I think I want to know like what the latest viewership ratings are going to be for this next season of all of these sports, because I mean, with the NBA, weren't they like putting, you know, they're going to start putting quotes on, or just phrases on their jerseys and maybe even on the courts, you know. And then with the baseball league, they have like I think Fenway Park is putting Black Lives Matter type stuff on their actual stadium.
Formula of going woke equals going broke. It's so real. They don't understand it. They realize they really don't understand it. Like you hear about A&E and how they
dropped, Live
Cops,
PD
television show Live PD.
Yeah,
They lost $300 million.
Wow.
They're willing to do that for $300 million. They're just nuts.
the assumption is like they're assuming people that have watched it will still watch it, and if they can appease the minority at the same time to get themselves out, I don't think they realize how powerful the silent viewership is. And so it's worked in the past, but I think now they're doing it too much, and I'm curious how long it's going to take for them to be like, okay, let's shift. Because like Gillette had that commercial in the Super Bowl, pretty much, bashing men, and they lost a lot of money. And then they tried their best to save the face, not saying that they're wrong, but they're like, well, we're going to shift our commercial focus to like, heroes so they changed their tactic, but they would not acknowledge what the sources that forced that. But I think companies will respond to loss of money. But I think that for so long we've seen companies that were able to appease those minority who's very loud and still try to keep their base. But yeah, I don't see it working any.
Wasn't it Gillette that did that whole ad campaign with like the trans? I don't even know how to the trans woman, trans man. I don't know how you say it, but like the transformer. Why don't we just refer to people as transformers at this point? Okay, so like the transformer was getting taught by their dad how to shave for the first time. Yeah, she had like 2 hairs on her face.
Pluck that off.
I know people who go like get threaded and stuff like that, and she probably could have just done that. Not even that. She didn't even have to go anywhere. She just take some tweezers to that.
Yeah.
But oh man,
it's nuts.
So basically, like I mentioned, the MLB has been kind of getting woke, and there have been a couple of stories recently of people kneeling for the first pitch or kneeling for the first game. I mean, before the first game, and there have been a couple of people who have stood up. Does anybody recall? I think there was a San Francisco
Giants, right?
Yeah,
Giants.
He's a Christian, wasn't he?
Yeah, he basically attributed it to his Christian faith for not kneeling, and that he wouldn't kneel before anybody except for God. And then he talked about how when he looked into Black Lives Matter ideology and kind of downplaying the nuclear family, and that's putting it lightly as far as downplaying the nuclear family. They don't see it as a viable future for the country. So. Yeah, I mean, like I was actually impressed that like if you see the pictures of the whole San Francisco team, it's like everybody's kneeling except for pretty much him, and I thought that was really brave. Like I hope if I was ever put in that position, I could do the same thing.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, like I was really impressed with the fact that he actually decided to do that. Now, how long he's going to be non-canceled and disappear like the snap hit him, I don't know.
All right, he'll be fired next week. On next week's episode.
So what I am gathered, the fan base is predominantly white, right? At least that's the impression I've gotten. So
it's more so, yeah, proportionally.
I mean, like that and Hispanic, in a lot of Hispanic countries and stuff. But like,
all these sports are going to die this year with the pandemic, and then on top of that, these decisions that they're making that don't appeal to their larger audiences.
Yeah,
it's just I really don't understand it. I'm really mind-boggled by this because I mean, I thought these people were smart, like these leaders of these organizations. Like. There is a small percentage of people that petition them to follow these leftist ideologies, and you would think they'd look at, hey, let's look at our demographics, let's look at our numbers, and say this is a business, we're running a business here, so let's determine through logic and reason and data what would be appropriate. And I mean, like defaulting to we're not going to say nothing is an acceptable choice. And will most likely be the best choice for them. But yet they continue to pick these small factions of people to side with and alienate their larger audiences. It just doesn't make any sense to me. Can anybody explain that to me? Does anybody know why you would be this retard, make decisions like this?
Yeah, the Twitter voices, they're just so loud. And they just make they make it seem like that's the majority. But yeah, I don't understand why companies let's actually look at the demographics and let's actually, let's see if this is accurate. Did you guys hear about Red Bull?
Oh yeah. Like it sounded like yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. So Red Bull, they basically fired 2 of their higher executives because they were pushing for the company to go woke. Obviously, I don't know. I haven't heard too much blowback about it.
I wish they did a study showing companies that kind of gave into this and then companies that refused, if anything changed in their sales at all.
Well, Invisible, I think it's really just the company's gut reaction. How do we get ourselves out of the limelight and show we did something without actually not doing anything? And we think our calculated risk is not going to lose our viewership because we people are just going to buy. The typical history shows that majority of people won't say anything. If they're going to buy a product, they're going to buy it because they want it. And so that's the majority of the folks. And hey, if we can appease this loud screaming child with something, then we're all at peace. But
and we all know how that goes.
Yeah. So that's I think that's the approach they're taking. And so some the Gillette person is using an example again, that kickback says okay, well, let's change our tactic. Let's not acknowledge that we're changing it because of the reaction, but we'll ultimately respond and say let's not make it an issue anymore. And because they're looking at the bottom line. And so if doing this gut response, which is not really, it's just surface level, then they'll do it. Companies are not. I don't see many companies that they're focused on the bottom line. That's money is what's driving their concern.
But I feel a lot of these companies, once they kind of go down this pathway, they're the bottom line is affected. ESPN, their ratings are in the trash right now, and I'm at what point do you kind of move away from that and realize it's hurting the business? Because and I could be wrong, but I know a lot of these publicly traded companies, the investors can sue the leadership if they feel they're making decisions that are hurting the the bottom line, right? Because they're supposed to, I guess in I guess people could maybe say this is an evil of capitalism, but once it's a publicly traded company, the sole purpose is to make investors money, right? So if you're using the company as a means to push your social agenda and it's hurting the money of others,
do you think
you can actually be sued for that?
Do you think that investors themselves are too scared to bring that up?
I think it's also kind of a thing. Imagine a company like Disney, right? There's so many it's a publicly traded company. So many people own it. I think even just organizing something like that would be hard. I guess if you were to try to sue a company like that.
That's true.
They'll probably vote more with their feet and sell off their stock. And,
right.
Which still would affect the companies. But yeah, I don't see. That is true. There are some companies I'm like, man, they're still going down that path, like ESPN, and it's what's the breaking point? Because they are still there to make money. So is it more of an hope that things will change if they continue to press down that path? I don't know. It's not my money that's being lost because of this.
So I just wanted to make sure that nobody missed this, but did anybody actually see Dr. Fauci throw the first pitch at the Washington Nationals game? Okay, you guys got to see this.
A stick figure comic. Oh my gosh. What stadium did he throw it to?
I think that was the first pitch of the game and his life.
Why did I ever practice these?
Yeah, why did you practice some practice throws before?
It looked like he just kind of curved his arm in as if it was crippled or something, and then
like Jesse Smollett fighting off some muggers and.
The best part
well, that guy's wearing a red hat.
MAGA country. this MAGA country.
Country.
The best part was the catcher tried to catch, and he's like, just let it go. I'm not gonna
There's no way I'm getting that.
It's too far away.
I like the quote here of this tweet by the person who posted the video, but it's Benny Johnson. But he says Fauci's first pitch was about as accurate and disciplined as his preparations and predictions for the China virus. China virus.
It's from
That's great.
Anyway, is there anything else that you guys have noticed this week? Because I think that was pretty much the crappiest week in a while. But
Every week is crappiest.
it just gets crappier as each week goes by in 2020.
Yeah,
It's
2020
something
has been
good.
the worst year,
Some
man.
good came out of this week.
What's
Like,
that?
That Nick Sandman and Washington.
Oh,
Post
that's
settled.
true. That just happened.
Yeah.
Yep.
What happened with that?
That dude is just banking off.
Yeah, man.
If everybody doesn't know that Nick Sandman, who is the young kid, I think he's probably like 15, 16 years old, was wearing a MAGA hat in Washington, D.C., and this Native American protester came up to him and the rest of his class and started pounding his drum. But of course, the media immediately said, "Oh, the Nick Sandman and his classmates were attacking the Native American," when that was totally false, and really drummed up a whole bunch of fake news around Nick Sandman. And ultimately, him and his lawyers decided this is enough for us to sue, and they did, and apparently they won.
Yeah, so they got a settlement from one of the organizations he was suing, I think, and they're still going to be going after more. Do you know which place he got a settlement from?
It was Washington Post, this one. I thought he had already gotten some.
He's still going to be pursuing other ones as well, other news outlets as well. So go Nick Sandman.
Settlements that are taking place. It's just helping his case.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it's just probably going to snowball. And so, like, the initial lawsuit was for $250 million. I wonder how much he actually got from these first two.
Yeah.
But man, somebody throw some racism my way, or just like some lies my way. I want to sue. That is.
These derogatory terms thrown at you.
Hey, this is how
Native
Jussie
American
Smollett started
to-
his downward spiral. He was
Hey, Native American to bump their spirit drum in front of me.
Spirit drum. Invisible Smollett.
it's a boy Smollett.
But oh yeah. Oh, go ahead. Yeah.
I was saying that separate thing that this may take it too long. The Gressler, the Jeffrey Epstein's right hand.
Oh,
What do you think she's gonna get
Ghislaine?
killed off?
Ghislaine.
Start
Ghislaine.
a kill down clock.
I'm not gonna die from corona.
I think they're probably going to let her out because of the corona outbreak.
Yeah, as soon as she walks out the door, pew pew.
There are 5 bullet holes in her head. Cause of death, coronavirus.
Coronavirus.
Have you guys seen some of those stories about coronavirus though? Like this week?
No.
I've started bookmarking them at this point because
Coronavirus? What's that?
I've heard of them. They're pretty bad.
which one did you hear about?
Um,
Like I know there was a couple of thousand cases that were reported as COVID cases in San Antonio that had to get corrected. There was also several.
one in Florida. I can't remember. Go ahead.
Yeah. I think there was another place in Florida that had misreported as well. But then there's also several people who have gone into line, like the drive-through line, to get tested, and then they'll for whatever reason they decide to leave the line and just go home, or not do the test. In one case, it was somebody who found out that it was for only people who were showing symptoms of COVID, and so they decided to leave the line. And then they get a call back like a couple of days later saying that they are tested positive for COVID-19.
Oh wow!
And so that's happened. Like I've seen several stories on it. So I started to bookmark because I was like, man, it seems like it's a little bit more out of the ordinary than typical for something like that to happen. But there's been several stories of that, people like getting false or positive results back, and they haven't even got tested. Or
Is this like in a specific area, or is it multiple states, cities that you're?
multiple states and cities, and I could probably pull it up, but yeah, it's kind of strange, to say the least. I don't know if there's anything behind that, but it just, it seems to happen somewhat often. I'm sure there have been mistakes in the past, but like, I think in one case, the person got a call from, wherever they didn't get the test from and said, oh, you're positive. And they're like, well, I didn't actually get tested. And they're, can you get that off my record? And they're like, no, you have to get proof that you don't have COVID. So she had to go get another test to actually, show that she was negative and to get it off of her record, because she didn't want it on her record, obviously. And but they weren't going to take it off her medical record until she could prove that she didn't have it. And this is after she left the line and didn't get a test in the first place. So definitely that seems kind of strange.
Just back to we had said at the beginning of this podcast about the protest. Do y'all see any justification at any point to be rioting? Because I think folks I know some people have used the whole Boston Tea Party as a argument point anytime someone gets upset, or when people have gotten upset. And so, do you see like that's justified? Because I feel like there's not enough people are acknowledging like, hey, is this violent crashes like are really impacting the message or promoting the message?
I mean, they're just pouring tea over the docks. I mean, they're not like shooting people up, like setting them on fire.
Yeah, how many deaths have occurred since the beginning of all these protests and everything? I mean, there's been several.
I heard like a Chicago funeral, like 15 people got shot.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, that Governor Lightfoot is getting mad at Trump for sending like federal agents, but then there's recently just been a protest outside of her house, and now she's like, yeah, send the agents.
Help.
There it is.
I guess with that, we'll close it out, but hopefully we have all learned something in some way during this podcast. I don't know what that is, but other than, I was thinking about this the other day. I was like, it feels like there's only depressing type news. And
true,
you never like hear anything good. And when you do, it's like, everybody likes it, but like nobody just continues on with, trying to, show something positive in the world. But I don't know.
The world is dead. See you guys later.
All right. Goodbye, everybody.
I'm trying to make money out of it. What is that guy from The Office that was doing Some Good News?
Yeah, that's exactly what I was thinking about. John Krasinski, he was doing Some Good News, and he I haven't seen anything of that.
Well,
wait, what is that? What is this? What is this?
CBS.
Oh, y'all didn't hear about this?
No, what is this?
Completely other thing, but John Krasinski started this YouTube channel called Some Good News during the height of the pandemic. And it was basically him just sitting at his desk and dressed up like a news host, and he would like bring up articles or talk about to show different videos, I guess, of people,
like
doing fun
videos.
Things or interesting things. Good news, right?
Yeah.
And so then like he got real popular, like 12 million hits the first week, and
wow,
and it really went viral, right? And then like literally like a month later, it's like, Some Good News has been sold to NBC or something. One of the channels who bought it. Yeah, they bought it, and they're going to convert it into an actual show.
Oh, wow.
Right? So they stopped it immediately.
Wait, so they really needed that idea? Like, they couldn't just report the good news? They had to... Wow. Okay.
Now the Some Good News will be like, more evidence of Trump and, for impeachment purposes and stuff like that.
Basically, it's going to turn into like the Stephen Colbert show every day.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think John Krasinski will let it. I mean, hopefully, he doesn't let it go down that way.
Well, he sold the rights, so he's not going to be like the host or involved, but he got a lot of money off of it, and so people were like, well, that was nice for a while, but now your money is more important to you. Because the whole thing is just like it's some good news.
He'll start a new show, a lot of good news. And then it'll just steal from NBC. Then they'll have to buy that one.
All right, guys. Well, that's it for today, and we will see you back here next week. you.